Hi everybody. So you've finished your 1,000 hours. You're all signed up on e-licensing to take your test. Now it's time to pack, which is really important because if an examiner and a supervisor see that you come in and you have everything organized and you have it labeled, that tells them a lot about what you did to prepare for the test. So I'm going to go through and tell you exactly what I tell my students, and I use something that I like to call the bag method. And I think it keeps them super organized. You're going to be really nervous. So it just seems to work out really well. Okay, first things first, you need to get yourself a brand new mannequin head. So this is Sam. You can see she's never had a haircut before. She has 100% human hair. So some people have taken their mannequins to a test before and it's synthetic hair. They go to use the Marcel iron on it and it's going to melt the hair or it will not curl the hair. So no synthetic hair is allowed, all human hair. Also, you're going to be required to cut the mannequin to anywhere between 6 and 7 inches long. So the mannequin obviously needs to be longer than 7 inches, but don't spend a crazy amount of money to get a mannequin that's super long. When you get your mannequin, if you don't already have one, you need to make sure that you buy one that comes with the plastic pro holder, which holds the mannequin clamp. Some locations, when you go to take your test, will have a hydraulic chair for you and they'll actually already have a pro holder attached. But there's other locations where there might actually be a table and you're just going to attach your pro holder to that table. Now, when you get your pro holder, some of them only come with one stem attachment. Some of them come with multiple. So just make sure that this stem fits on your mannequin head properly. Some of the ones that we have at our school have 4 different size stems because some mannequin bases, for some reason, I don't really know why, are different sizes. So just make sure it fits. If your mannequin head doesn't fit on there, that's not going to be a good start to the test for you. Okay. You definitely need to have a supply of paper towels. A roll of paper towels are fine, or ones like these. I would bring about a half a dozen extra towels. They can be dish towels, they can be hand towels. Just make sure they're nice and clean and neat and folded. You'll need to bring a cape, something to drape your mannequin with. It can be a small comb out cape, it can be a full hair cutting cape, really whatever you would like. I recommend bringing tape with you and a garbage baggie. So it can be a plastic bag, it can actually be a garbage bag. Here I just have this one labeled garbage, and I would take this and tape it right to the station. You also need to have some type of EPA approved disinfectant to use. So these are disinfectant wipes. Your examiner may come over to you and look at it to make sure that it has an EPA number. That tells you that it is cleaning and killing the things that it says it's going to do. It needs to be a hospital grade disinfectant. So you're not going to go to the dollar store and get a disinfectant that's EPA approved. You can use Clorox wipes, Lysol wipes, anything like that, as long as it's a proper hospital grade disinfectant. So before you get started, you would take this, either spray it or use the wipe and wipe down your station, and then do your proper setup, which you can use a real towel or a paper towel, and all of your supplies will go neatly on there. You do need to have something to make a barrier between the cape and the mannequin head. So I give my students these little disposable neck strips that you can put underneath the towel. You put this on and then put the cape on top of it. And you could redrape for every service that you're doing, unless of course it's time to do chemicals, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about draping that afterwards. You are going to need to purchase some cholesterol. You need to use cholesterol as a simulated product for the foils, for the color, and for the relaxer. So this is a, how big is this jar? This is 15-ounce jar. You can get this for probably about $5 in Walmart, Walgreens, anywhere like that, Target, Amazon. And this should be enough product for you to use for when you are packing your kit up, okay? All right, so let's get started in our 10 tests. First thing that you're going to need to do is to give your mannequin a haircut. On your station, you need to have out a blood contamination kit, which needs to be labeled. So why do I have this? In case you were accidentally cut yourself during the exam, you need to be able to take care of it properly. So this needs to be a rigid container that can fit your shears. So your shears need to be able to fit in here. I have a liquid styptic here in case I were to cut myself accidentally. You want to make sure that you're not really bleeding. This can help to clot the blood. alcohol wipes that you can use to wipe on your shears. You can also use your disinfectant to do that. And a few Band-Aids for if you cut yourself. We all know they don't like to stay on our fingers very well. So this needs to be out on your station. Again, the examiner may pick it up and look at it. Your water bottle needs to be labeled as water. Wetting your mannequin head is part of the 50 minutes for the haircut. So you need to make sure that you do not wet your mannequin head before the timing starts. Okay, for the haircut, here comes my bag method. I have this one labeled haircut, and I would have, oh, I forgot to tell you this. You're gonna go into your exam with 2 separate containers or bags or suitcases. So one of those, either a tote, like I said, your actual school kit, or a luggage bag is gonna be labeled clean. And all of these things that I'm going through with you right now are going to be in there. You're going to have another bin. It doesn't need to be the same kind, but another bag, bin, whatever. And it's going to be labeled on the outside dirty. So when you're going in, your clean bin is full. When you're leaving, your dirty bin is full. So it's basically showing you've gone through and done all the right steps to make sure everything's sanitized, disinfected, or new for while you're using it. And I tell my students to line these bags up in the order of the procedure as you are going through. Because there's 10 of them, you're going to be nervous, so it might be a little bit hard to remember. So, first one, haircut. So what do I have in here in my hair cutting bag? You need to have enough sectioning clips. You're allowed to use 4 or 5 sections for the haircut. I recommend always putting 1 or 2 extras in there because when you're nervous, you get butterfingers a lot and we tend to drop things. At least I know I do. So you want to have some clips. You need to have a hair cutting comb. Most hair cutting combs are about 7 inches. You can get them bigger or smaller. I like to recommend to my students to get the ones that have the inch markings on them so that when you start doing the haircut, the examiner can see. I always tell my students our motto is measure twice, cut once. So I tell them not only to hold it at the 90 degrees, but to use their comb and use their length measurement. Hold it to the 7 inches, look at it with the comb, and then give it a cut. You are going to need, in addition to your hair cutting shears, whatever hair cutting shears it is that you would like to use, make sure that they're clean and disinfected. You do need to show razor cutting during the haircut. So you're going to want your razor, make sure there is a clean, ready to go blade for you to use for doing the haircut. Whether you have a feather razor or one like this is fine. Make sure there's a blade in it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that students go and they don't have a blade in there and they pretend like they're cutting. That doesn't get the job done. You need to actually show that you know how to use it. And then for removing excess bulk, you can use your razor, you can use your shear, or you can use a thinning shear. So if you like to use a thinning shear, the one with the serrated teeth, you would need to have that as well. Okay? You don't really get any brownie points on the state exam, but I do tell my students it's a good idea to go to the dollar store and get a dustpan with a little broom attachment so that when you're done with the haircut, you can actually clean up your own hair with that. Most exam locations, ours included, do have those things there for you, so you can use those tools to clean up your hair when you're done. But you definitely want to clean up your whole area. After your examiner checks your haircut, they will tell you to get ready for the next task, which is the blow dry. So clean everything up from your haircut, put that into the dirty bin, and now you're going to reset up for the blow dry. So take one of your wipes, wipe down your area, new towel out, and now for the blow dry, you will obviously need a blow dryer. Make sure that it's working good. Make sure that there's no lint buildup back here. It's nice and clean. My baggie is labeled blow dry. You do not have to use, but if you choose to use a concentrator nozzle, you can. So you'd want to make sure that you have that. You need to have some type of comb so that you can section out the part of the head that you're doing the blow dry on. So the blow dry is the top and one side. So you're going to want to do that. And then you'll need a sectioning clip so that you can not only keep the other hair away from where you're working, but so that you can take subsections on the blow dry as you're starting. And then you need a round bristle brush. It can be natural bristle brush, it can be nylon. It just needs to be clean before you're started. It does not identify 2 inch, 2.5 inch, 3 inch. So pretty much anything that you want. If you feel like you might drop this, maybe try to bring 2 just in case. Okay. When the blow dry is done, then it's time to get going with the Marcel. So all of these tools and supplies would get cleaned up. And now your marcelling is going to be done 3 barrel curls on the top part of the head that you dried and 3 spiral curls on the dried side of the head. you need to have a 3/4 inch Marcel iron, not a spring iron, and it needs to be electric so it plugs in to heat up, okay? You need to have probably a rat tail comb so that you can make your subsectionings nice and clean. And this needs to be a thermal protectant or hard rubber comb, because if we were to use a plastic comb and it touched our iron, it would melt. You also need to have some type of clips to hold your barrel curls in place. The spiral curls just hang, but the barrel curls need to be clipped. I recommend to my students to use the single prong clips. You could also use a long duckbill clip, and then you would only need to put one of them to hold them into place. You might want to actually put in this bag also to help you remember when you're done with the thermal iron, there will not be time for you to let your curling iron sit and cool off before you put it away. They want you to clean up immediately. So if you have a thermal protectant bag, like a curling iron bag, that's great. If not, when you're done, take your iron, wrap it up like this, put it in your dirty bag or your dirty bin so that it's not going to melt anything along the way. All right, moving on. After that, we have the demonstration of techniques part of the exam. So first will be rollers, and then perm, pin curls, and finger wave. All 4 of these stay in until after the finger wave. So you want to make sure that you don't get nervous, and after they grade the rollers, take them out. You need to leave them in, okay? So for the rollers, no product is allowed. And wetting down the hair again is part of your timing. So you'll already have your water bottle out at your station. That's totally fine. You don't need a new one to reuse. Same one is fine. You're going to spray the hair. You do need to have full-size rollers. I recommend to my students to have the tan ones. Again, have 1 or 2 extras of those to use. And I like them to use their roller clips, also called dual purpose clips, because if you opened this, they push all the way in. Now, why is that important to have them push all the way in? Well, because on the right side of the head, you'll be doing the pin curls, and on the left side of the head, you'll have the permanent wave rods. So these clips, if they're sticking out from the rollers, can actually get in your way. So I would use those. And then obviously you would need to have a tail comb. So that's my roller bag. Next, probably the most complicated part of the test, besides the relaxer, is the perm. I talk about the perm in the perming video, how the timing, the 10 minutes, I think is really hard too, and there's just a lot to do. So let's start going through this. Okay, lots of supplies in it. So we have to use 5 or more long rods for doing the perm. So you can use white rods. That's what my students get in their kit. But white rods are a little bit smaller than the lavender size rods. So I tell my students if their sectioning is done properly, if they were going to use white, they would probably need six rods to complete that panel on the left side of the head. If you are somebody who struggles with permanent wave wrapping or your timing, you might want to invest like $2 to get a dozen of these lavender rods. Tiny bit bigger, but it makes a big difference. If you have these lavender rods, it will make it so that you only need to have 5. Sounds silly, but anything you can do to help yourself is smart. Also, recommend, make sure when you get your rods, they're gonna be closed like this. Beforehand, take these, open them up, because just opening them will take you an extra few seconds that you might not have. End wraps, make sure that you have enough of them. Depending on your haircut, hopefully things went really well for your haircut. Some people don't blend their front guide to the layers as well as they should, and then that makes wrapping really hard. So some people have to use double end wraps, 2 of them vertically this way, and they have to use single as they go along. So just make sure that you have enough of them. Okay. After you finish putting your perm rods in, you need to apply a protective base around the outside of the section so that the permanent wave solution wouldn't leak on and run onto the person's face. So in a container, you need to have written on here protective base. It needs to be a colored gel, and you're gonna need to get it out of this container somehow that's sanitary. So what I recommend doing is get yourself some disposable popsicle sticks. You would take this, open it up, maybe put it on the back of your hand, take this and put it around the outside outline of that section. Then you need to take your cotton, about 1 foot should be fine, and you're going to wrap this around. So you need to have this as well. All of that needs to be done within the 10 minutes. So that's a lot to have to do within the 10 minutes, okay? What else? Oh, I know what I forgot to tell you. You need to drape your mannequin, for a chemical services before you start. So chemical draping, towel, cape, towel. So you'll need to have a few towels in this bag to remind you to go ahead and drape this underneath the towel or underneath the cape, then the cape, and then another one. Okay, at this point in time, you're ready for your examiner. So you're going to put on your gloves. In here, simulated product for permanent waving lotion, which needs to be labeled, is water. You will not necessarily have access to a faucet when you arrive. So you need to make sure that you have some water in here ahead of time. And then I took some saran wrap and put it on here and then put the top on to make sure it doesn't leak in my bag. Really simple trick to do. Also, for those of you who are buying pre-assembled kits, lots of people go into the exams and have that, but it's obvious that they didn't go through and look at it ahead of time. Sometimes when you buy a new color applicator bottle, the top of it is sealed and they can't get the product to come out because it's sealed. And then what are they going to do? So some people actually take their hair cutting shears and cut through this thick plastic with that, which will really dull your shears. Not a good idea. So just make sure that the hole is poked through there and you can get the solution out. When you are ready to apply the solution, again, your examiner needs to be there, your gloves are on, you have this ready. You also need to have another towel in your non-dominant hand for when you're applying to make sure that this it's not dripping onto the person's ear or onto their face. So I recommend putting another towel in there for that as well. Your examiner will show you how to do, or ask you to show them a test curl, and they will check your ends, and then we are ready to move on again. Okay. After the perm comes your pin curls. Pin curls, not a lot of products that you need. You need a rat tail comb. You need clips for your pin curls. I tell my students that I like them to use the double prong clips. It holds the hair really well. It doesn't really matter which clips you use as long as you're consistent. If you're looking like a disheveled mess and you have all different types of clips, as an examiner, I might not think that you're like ready to go, organized and knowing what you're doing. Big question is finger waving lotion. So this bottle has some finger waving lotion in there labeled. Again, make sure that your top is cut so that it can come out. I put a little bit of saran wrap underneath here, take it off, take the saran wrap, put it back on, and it'll come back out. So finger waving lotion. In my actual finger waving lotion video, there's some information down in the comments on that video as to where you can find this. You cannot use gel. Okay, that's the biggest thing. It can't be that really thick consistency. It has to be a finger waving lotion consistency, which typically when you buy is a concentrate, so it needs to be watered down. You need to make sure you read the directions. A great company that does sell it is called Fanta C, 2 words, F-A-N-T-A-S-E-A. Okay, so that's for your pin curls. After that, finger wave. So your finger waving lotion that you just had out, you can keep that and use it the same. Here's my smallest bag, 1 comb in my finger wave bag, because that's all you need. You need the finger waving lotion and you need the comb. All right, at this point, we're at the home stretch. Foils are next. So for your foils, you're going to do 3 weaves, 3 slices. Have your foils, they can come from a roll, they can be longer ones, they can be shorter ones. Just make sure they're pre-cut and ready to go so that you don't need to take the time to do that during your test, okay? All right. So at the start of the foils, the directions indicate to put the hair into 4 sections. Some students only section off for the foils and not the rest. You're sectioning for the foils, the color, and the relaxer all at the same time. So to try to remind you of that, maybe have 4 clips in this bag when you get going. Before you start, you need to put your gloves on, both hands. You're going to need a tail comb, and it can be a metal pintail comb or not, your choice, but it definitely needs to be a rat tail. You need to have a color applicator brush, and you need to have a container which is labeled lightener, and this has some cholesterol in it. Okay, so that's everything that you would need for doing the foils. After that, we're moving on to the color. Some people have said, well, can I use the same color brush? It's still just cholesterol. Can I use the same container? The answer is no. You need to have separate things for each service that you are doing. So for the color, new pair of gloves, another clean color brush, and another container with cholesterol. This time it is labeled color. These containers, you can get them really inexpensively in the dollar store. As long as it's a clean container. If you had like Chinese food one night and you have the clean containers from that, that's totally fine as well. Just make sure that everything that you're using is nice and clean. All right, last part of the test, the relaxer. All right, step by step, maybe the most confusing. Packing wise, not so bad. You need to have a hard rubber rat tail comb that is not metal, no metal allowed. You need to have another applicator brush. You need to have your gloves, which you do not have to wear for the protective base. You can, but you do not have to. Your protective base, just like before, just like the Perm, but this is another container labeled protective base, and it needs to be a colored gel. Another one of these disposable sticks or a plastic spoon, something to take the gel out of that container and put it on the back of your non-dominant hand. And then my last container with cholesterol in it is labeled relaxer. So that's everything you would need. One other recommendation in this last bag, you might want to put like a plastic shopping bag, because when you're done with your mannequin head, you're not washing it out there. I've actually seen some students, because they don't know how to deal with it, they just throw it in the garbage, which is really a waste of a mannequin head. Anyway, I would recommend another plastic bag, even an extra one of these bags, just so you can stick the head in there when you're done, because it's going to be full of all kinds of foils, cholesterol, gel, and all of that. So when all that's done, everything's ending up back in your dirty bin. You're going to clean up your whole supplies. You're going to clean the chair, the mirror, make sure there's no hair on your floor. You and Sam or Deborah or Catherine or whoever you have, you made it through. It's a 3+ hour test, so it's a long one, but you can breathe a sigh of relief. At the end of the examination, they'll usually tell you it can be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for you to get your results. I've seen some students get it in as quick as 2 days. I would say that's not the typical, but usually within that 2-week time frame, people have their results. So good luck to you. Happy packing. Let me know how you make out on your test. Let other people know about my videos if they've been helpful to you, and thanks for tuning in.